All right. I hope everyone's doing well today. Um, First and foremost, we want to thank each and every attendee today for tuning in. We know it's a very hard time for everyone, so we really do appreciate you tuning in and wanting to learn more about all the great opportunities that St. Thomas has to offer. So just so you know who you're going to hear talking, my name is Avi Charanet. I'm an admissions counselor in the Office of Admissions here at St. Thomas. I've been working here for about 4 years now. Really love what I do, really love connecting with students and their families. Today, we have an awesome panel of people, and I want to make sure that y'all know who's going to be talking to you today. So we're going to do some brief introductions. So Father Blake, could you introduce yourself first, please?
Thank you, Avi. I'm Father Lawrence Blake, the University Chaplain and Director for Campus Ministry here at the University of St. Thomas. I want to welcome you personally. We are happy to work with students all across the campus and helping to support their spiritual endeavors, helping to support their spiritual growth, providing confidential counseling when we're asked, and a variety of other support mechanisms that we give to our students. We do fun things together. We sponsor retreats throughout the year. We sponsor vision trips where students go not only all across the United States, but all over the world to have a new experience of working in another culture. There's so much that we offer, and we're always so happy when students come in to see us and when we're out on campus visiting with our students as well. So welcome.
All right, thank you, Father Blake. Kim, could you introduce yourself next, please?
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kim Schumann. I'm the Director of Disability Resources here at St. Thomas. And I, along with other staff in the office, support students that have both visible and invisible disabilities in providing what we call accommodations or support both inside the classroom and outside the classroom for extracurriculars or residence hall needs. And I'm excited to be here talking with you today. Thank you.
Awesome. Jeff, could you introduce yourself next, please?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Jeff Holstein. I'm the Assistant Director in Campus Life. I personally oversee clubs and organization, leadership development, but our office also oversees a variety of other aspects of student engagement. We oversee the undergraduate student government, which is the group of students that kind of oversee the governing board at our institution. We also oversee campus-wide events. We do things like Tommy Tuesday, where we all wear purple on Tuesday, homecoming, holidays at St. Thomas, and the list kind of goes on and on. Along with our campus programming board, which is STAR, that's the St. Thomas Activities and Recreation. That group of students oversees DIY, craft nights, Thursday Night Live, which is like a coffee house social feel. There's off-campus excursions. They go to Nickelodeon Universe, sporting events in the cities, different onstage plays, museums. And yeah, so like we kind of do an overall, the fun. Sometimes we're called the Office of Fun. I'll say that. Yeah.
Awesome. So next we'll have Tanya.
Well, that is a really tough act to follow there. So Jeff's job does sound really fun. My name is Tanya Jones-Peterson, and I'm the Director of Retention and Student Success within the Centers for Student Achievement at the University of St. Thomas. And we just want to welcome you. Thanks for being here today. So my job is really to help identify opportunities for us to best support our students. So I do work with a variety, well, I work with students to find out their needs, but I'm also working with a lot of departments to just help to address the needs of our students and making sure that students are feeling supported during their time here at St. Thomas.
Thank you, Tanya. And last but not least, we have Madonna.
Hello and welcome to St. Thomas. We're excited to have you join us in the near future. I am the Executive Director for the Center for Wellbeing here at St. Thomas, which is an integrated organization or integrated department that includes several departments. It's our medical clinic called Health Services. It's our counseling and psychological services. We also have health promotion and violence prevention. Integrated into that is also spiritual counseling as well. So we bring all of these departments and services together in one location so that, as one student had said, there's no wrong door. We've recently moved into a beautiful new building in between North and South Campus. And so we're here to help support students no matter what the issue is. Sometimes students are not always sure of, is this where I need to go because I'm feeling not well? And sometimes it's hard to say, am I not feeling well because it's something, you know, physical, medical, or is it stress related? So we have a lot of ways of addressing and assisting students in achieving better or optimal health and getting back to good health and making sure that you're getting into your classes and staying on target for your academic success as well as your athletic success. So welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So as y'all can see, you know, we have a lot of experts here that provide great resources for each and every student at St. Thomas. So kind of think about, you know, your questions and think about what questions you have that you want them to answer. And just as a housekeeping item, you'll see a Q&A box on your screen. Make sure to type all your questions in that Q&A box. And then I'll pose the questions to each and every panelist. So with that being said, fire your questions away. So the first question that we have here will be for Father Blake. So Father Blake, can you comment on what the retreats are like? And also, could you comment on what type of Bible studies are available on campus?
I'd be happy to do that, Abby. We have as many as 10 retreats during the school year. We have, they're all held within the local metro area. I would say not more than an hour away from campus, but we provide transportation for our students who are registered for the retreat. It is a wonderful opportunity to spend some time away, some time together with your classmates. And we have different themes through the year. We always have a first year student experience. We also, at the end of the year, do a senior retreat. And then in between, we do a retreat, what we call a silent retreat, which a lot of our students who have signed up for that, they're not really sure what they're getting into, but they really appreciate a time away, and which is mostly quiet time, time for them to read, meditate, and pray. So we have all of those. I also want to say that we have, for the last several years, sponsored a Muslim women's retreat as well, which has been very well received by our Muslim women on campus. That typically is held either on our site or in cooperation with one of our neighboring campuses. Someone asked about Bible studies. There are Bible studies going on probably every night on campus in different locations. Some of them are in the dorms. Some meet in Anderson Student Center. Some meet in one of our chapels here on campus, or one of the rooms attached to the chapels. We're very happy and excited to be moving into a new location this summer, the Iverson Center for Faith, which will provide even greater opportunities for people to gather in small groups and large groups for the purpose of developing their spiritual lives.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So the next question is for Kim. Are there any Are there any accommodations for people with ADHD, such as quiet test-taking spaces or extended testing time?
Yes, there are, both of those accommodations are available to students that have ADHD. What we recommend, if you are interested in reaching out to our office, you are welcome to schedule an appointment. We also have an email address you can connect with us at. That's disabilityresources@stthomas.edu. And for incoming freshmen, we're happy to kind of talk you through the process. And then what we really for sure want you to do is schedule what we call an initial meeting with us after you have registered for fall semester classes, because then we can, then we'll know what classes you're heading into, and we can better talk with you about the type of accommodations that are reasonable and appropriate for those courses.
Yeah, and one thing that I really appreciated about my St. Thomas experience was how accommodating the Disability Resources Office was, you know, in working one-on-one, case by case with each and every student. So the next question is for Mr. Fun, Jeff himself. What does the homecoming event entail?
So every year there's some small changes to some of the events that happen from night to night. Typically in the past, there has been for sure a homecoming concert. There's a homecoming parade, there's the football game, there's Purple on the Plaza that goes on before, so that's the tailgating before the game that day. But from the whole week, starting before the weekend event, family weekend, there's typically some DIY night. So we have the create space down in the Anderson Student Center where students can create their own spirit gear. That's an event that happened in the past. And then just some maybe small time artists will come for Thursday Night Live, and then also some just other kind of fun events like grocery bet, no, not grocery bet, just regular bingo, things like that, and maybe some trivia. So, and I would say even beyond homecoming, every single week there's something to do on our campus, Monday through Sunday, and every single day, either it's our department or through our clubs, there's always something to do. Yeah.
Awesome, thanks, Jeff.
No problem.
So the next question is for Madonna. How is the student health service staffed? MD, PAs, CNP? If you have strep throat, for example, are they also prescribers? How are prescriptions filled?
Okay, those are great questions. And yes, we have within the Center for Wellbeing, we have the medical clinic, which has internal medicine physician. We have nurse practitioners and physician's assistants. We have medical assistants. We have psychiatrists, physical therapists. So we have a pretty wide array of providers here. All of the PAs, NPs, and MDs prescribe, as well as a psychiatrist. We have a pharmacy within, I think it's now 3 blocks away. We also, public safety can give you a lift if you don't have a transportation. And we also have another pharmacy that delivers the medications. I see some of the other questions. I'm going to just jump in if that's all right, because I'll tie it on, is
sure.
that the counseling services that we have is free to all students. That's part of the health fee. We have 8 staff psychologists, 3 doctoral interns, and 3 practicum students. Counseling services, there is no charge for. That's covered in the health fee. It is a short-term therapy, so it's not intended to be ongoing for your 4 years. We work really carefully with getting folks the care that they need immediately, and then making sure that they have maybe someone in the community that might be able to support them long-term. We also have a behavioral health therapist that can see students in the moment. We have a case manager that helps them connect with the other appropriate resources that they need. And health promotion and violence prevention is also free to students. A lot of those things are helping you stay healthy. Like right now we're offering yoga for anxiety. We've had upwards of 50 people participating in those, and it's been really well received. So those are some of the things that we're doing within the center. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Okay, so here's a question for Tanya. Do all students receive an academic counselor when they start at St. Thomas that continues with them throughout their time at the school?
That's a great question. And my background is in academic counseling. So I was an academic counselor for 7 years. Every student at St. Thomas does get an advisor. When you come in as a first-year student, you're assigned to a faculty member as your advisor to serve as an advisor until you declare your major, and then you get an advisor within your major field. On top of that, I'm sure everyone wants to, make sure that they're taking classes that they need and that you can graduate on time. I love when students can graduate in 4 years, and that's another part of my job. So my great colleagues over in academic counseling can provide 4-year planning or degree planning appointments and other things like that, so you can make sure that you stay on track. So there's a lot of support here. Our students do see advisors, are required actually to see an advisor before they register, and that's just the personal attention that we provide to every student here at St.
So as a follow-up, you said that there's a lot of support at St. Thomas, which I would agree, there is a lot of support. This person asked, is tutoring free or included, and is it available often?
That is another great question. We do have a lot of tutoring services across campus. So every department manages their own tutoring. So we have tutoring in econ and biology and math and writing, and all of those things are included. They're all free. And so, and they have a lot of hours, like our math resource center that provides assistance for every math class is open just basically from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. So lots of hours available, and everyone seems to be very willing to assist, and we have great tutors on campus. So all free.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I definitely took advantage of all the tutoring opportunities. I remember my first year in college, I was having a lot of trouble with calculus. So I was in that math resource center every single day until I got my grade up. So yes, there is a lot of tutoring options on campus.
And I would say, could I add one thing too?
For sure, definitely.
It's a great resource to use right off the bat. I always tell students when I'm working with them, start off using tutoring, and if you find after that first test you don't need it anymore, then you can always stop. So utilizing the resources is key.
Definitely. Thanks for that advice. The next question I have is for Father Blake. When is Mass on campus?
That's a good question. We have Mass during the school year, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. in the main chapel, and again at 12:10. We have a Mass at 5 p.m. in one of our other chapels, the chapel connected with Catholic Studies. That's Monday through Thursday. And for those who travel back and forth to the Minneapolis campus, we have Mass Monday through Friday at the chapel within the law school on the Minneapolis campus. On weekends, we have Mass Saturday evening at 5:30 and Sunday morning at 11 a.m.
Cool, thank you. All right, so I have 2 questions in a row now for Jeff. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, so for the first question, what kind of clubs are offered at St. Thomas, and how do we find them or sign up for them?
Sure. So there's about 130 different clubs offered on our campus, and it's actually a wide range of different clubs, from special interests to political, to academic to honorary. We even have one social Greek on our campus. So where you can actually find all of our clubs, and I'm just going to type it into the comment box, is at TommyLink. You can find it at stthomas.edu/TommyLink for the people who are calling in. And this is going to be a great resource to find out a little bit more about the club, see the events that are happening. You can even look in the event section and see some of the past events that have happened. So I saw a question about what kind of events that the STAR programming put on. You can look at the past events, and it's just a wide range of things. In order to join any of those clubs officially, this TommyLink is the main source. for joining a club, there's a little button at the top where you would click join, and then the club officials get a notification, and then they'll have to accept you into the club based off on whatever their requirements are. My recommendation for students, at least incoming, you can always join as many clubs as you want, but definitely do try not to overload yourself. My recommendation, join one academic club and join one recreational club, and that will be able to kind of give you a holistic approach onto like your left side brain and right side brain. But yeah, TimeLink's also a fun resource. Let's just say if you're running low on meal plans or you're hungry on campus, if you look in the event section, you can actually search events on where the free food is at. So I always think that's a great resource alone. If you're hungry, just take a look at TimeLink and you can find where the food's at. Yeah.
Awesome. And yeah, I mean, obviously college is about doing well in school. You know, you want to make sure you're doing well with your academics, but something that's also very important is what are you doing to complement that education? And that's where all these student clubs and organizations come into play. So don't be afraid to pursue your passions, whatever they are, outside of the classroom, for sure.
Yeah, and I would say if you're also exploring a major, joining an academic club is a great way to do that, just because academic clubs will bring in speakers, CEOs, business leaders to come talk to you about like, what is it like to be an accountant? What is it like to be working marketing? What's it like to be a professional engineer? And so you can actually learn a little bit more about your major and what the field that you're going to be getting into by joining a club. So, yeah.
Awesome. So the second question I have for you is, when is parent weekend / what does it include? And are high school age siblings invited or strictly parents?
Yeah, so family weekend, I believe, don't quote me, my colleague works on family weekend and homecoming, but I believe it is, I think on that Friday of homecoming. So typically usually programming is for our students, but family is totally welcome to come on that Friday through that weekend to attend any of the events. So yeah, and homecoming is October 4th through the 10th. So those are the dates there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff. Let's see here. So Tanya, how can you get a job as a tutor?
That's a good question. So, well, I can just speak broadly about jobs because on-campus jobs are a great opportunity. You know, just as we talked about those connections you can make by getting involved in clubs and organizations, having a job on campus is also a really great way to make those connections with different peers and staff members. And so the jobs are all available on our human resources website. And I have a great colleague, David Lemon, who handles the student employment side of things. So tutoring positions and things like that are all found on our student employment site.
Thank you. The next question I have is for Madonna. What kind of insurance do you need to use for St. Thomas's Health Services?
It's an excellent question. As I mentioned before, the counseling and health promotion is all covered under the health fee. The medical clinic does operate like most other health clinics in your community, with the exception that we are all specialized in caring for college-age students, the 18 to 24-year-old. So they're very familiar with the stresses and the day-to-day life of a student. The health services has contract with almost every major payer source in the community. So Blue Cross Blue Shield of Minnesota, Cigna, Medica, etc. And if there's one that we don't have a contract with, we will reach out to them. If you're from out state or out of state, it's always a good idea to check with your insurance company and say, You know, my son or daughter is going to St. Thomas. I want to make sure that we're considered in network. If they say no, then you say, can we ask for an exemption since they will be living there during the academic year? So that's considered in network. We also have an insurance billing specialist here that will be more than happy to help assist anybody with trying to make those connections. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Madonna. So I see a few questions about work study and just kind of more information about work study. So any St. Thomas student is eligible to work on campus, whether it's as a tutor or working in the admissions office with me, or working in the dining services or in the student center. And all of that information can be found on our job portal on our website. So I definitely encourage all of you who want to learn more about student jobs on campus to check out that job portal. I guess, Tanya, could you maybe just broadly talk about career development at St. Thomas?
Sure. Career development is housed within the Center for Student Achievement, and they provide all sorts of services to undergraduate students and alumni. And so a lot of ways in which they work with incoming or first year students, for example, is a lot around like major discernment. You know, there's a lot of times where students are like, you know, I'm not really sure what I want to do. I know what I don't want to do, but I'm not totally sure about what I want to do. I have a couple interests. There's a lot of interest inventories you can do through there, Strengths Finder, and other things like that that they can support you and have some one-on-one conversations about those pieces. And that's another way in which they work with academic counseling, right? Like if once you decide on a major, you'll want to work with academic counseling about, well, what classes do I take to do that major and all of those types of things. They provide, let's see, mock interviews, resume reviews, LinkedIn assistance. Yeah, just like I said, a lot of different resources. They help with internships and they bring folks on campus. So when you're at that point where you're looking at jobs and internships, it's really nice because they do host a whole lot of corporations and other things on campus too. So you can do some interviewing right here on campus, which is another nice feature. And they are available, their typical work hours are 8 a.m. till 4:30 p.m.
Awesome, thank you. And yeah, I mean, the Career Development Office does a lot of work to see each and every student here at St. Thomas really grow professionally. So no matter what major you are, no matter what year in school you are, take advantage of the Career Development Office. The next question is for Jeff. So Jeff, and this is more, I guess, from an out-of-state student lens. Do you find students stay on campus over the weekend? And what are some things they can do? I know you kind of glossed over, you know, some things like STAR and things like that, but yeah, what are some specific things that students can do over the weekend?
Yeah, so it's tough to say. I would say that some students do go off campus, but there are a lot of students that do stay on campus, and there's tons of things to do, as I mentioned before. STAR will do some programming. Like I mentioned, there's that Thursday Night Live. They'll bring in either bingo or some entertainer to come on campus, magicians, and things like that. We also have the Diversity Activities Board, who also does excursions in our city. They'll either go to a different restaurant, maybe you can try something new that way. They'll check out different plays as well, things around diversity, different museums. We also have, and like this is a underutilized resource at the Tommy Central in the Anderson Student Center. There's actually tons of things that you could rent there and purchase from Tommy Central. There's not free movie tickets. There's movie tickets that you can buy at a discounted rate, theater tickets, concert tickets. If you know about Mall of America, there's the Nickelodeon universe inside there. You can get discounted stuff to their different attractions as well. You can rent snowshoes, you can rent camping gear, things like that at a very, very low rate. If there is, for most things that are off campus through STAR, most of the things will be free. There's only very few items where you'll end up having to pay some kind of cost, and it's usually about $5 at the most. But that's a really rare situation. The only time it's more than that, it's usually when STAR takes students to the Minnesota Wild games, and that's just because those tickets are just kind of a little bit more expensive. So I think the price they had asked was around $10. But yeah, so like I mentioned, there's always something to do on the weekend. If it's not through our office, clubs are always doing things as well. There's cultural dinners almost every single weekend during the spring semester, where any one of our cultural clubs are holding a celebration of their culture. So there's African night, there's Saudi night, there's Asian night. We just got a new club on campus called the Somali Student Association, who was going to have a Somali night this semester, but obviously things had changed. But there's always going to be something going on.
Awesome, thank you. So I do see some questions about talking about our Tommy Ambassador program. So I will kind of comment on that. So our Tommy Ambassador program is housed in our enrollment division, and hence the name. They are ambassadors of the school. So they work hand in hand with the admissions office at all the different events, so they'll help with check-in, they might have, there might be tour guides, helping give tours and stuff. They might help at the overnight visits, things like that. And they're really there to kind of give prospective students the current student perspective. Because I can sit up here and talk for ages about St. Thomas and talk about how I had a great experience back when I was a student from 2012 to 2016. But the Tommy Ambassadors experience is the current experience, which is very valuable. And a lot of prospective students really enjoy that. So that program, if any prospective students in this webinar are interested in that, I would definitely say contact your admissions counselor and let them know, so we can kind of put you on the list and advocate for you if that's what you want to do. So that's about Tommy Ambassadors. The next question is for Father Blake. As far as the seminarians on campus, do you see them, I guess, like taking part in different like campus activities on campus?
That's a great question. We actually have two seminaries on campus. We have our undergraduate seminary, St. John Vianney. Those young men are in the process of earning their BA degree and attend classes along with all the other undergraduate students. Across the street, we have our School of Divinity, where our graduate seminarians attend, who are preparing to be ordained after they complete their degree. Our seminarians attend events here on campus as they're able. I would say the undergraduate seminarians probably more than our graduate school students. One of the places I most often see seminarians is on Tommy Catholic Night, which is every Tuesday night here in ASC, although I think come fall, we're going to be moving into the new Center for Faith. We have about 100 to 150 students who show up for that every Tuesday night. And oftentimes our seminarians are part of that group as well.
Awesome. We have another question for you, Father Blake. Are there any vocational events or retreats to help women on campus discern religious life?
I'm glad somebody asked that, because we do provide a retreat for women. We provide a vocational retreat. We invite sisters who are working in the local area to be a part of that and to help our young women discern that vocation, if that's a calling that they feel in their hearts. And we we also offer opportunities, of course, for men to do that as well.
Awesome. All right. Let's see here. So this question is for Madonna. Can you talk more about how, like, the Center for Wellness and the Center for Wellbeing and the different, like, yoga or meditation services that are available?
Okay, yeah, good to know. We offer lots of activities within the Center for Wellbeing. The yoga, maybe yoga for anxiety. We do also events around sleep. Sleep hygiene we now know is incredibly important for student success. We also now are doing having a student training session, so we'll have student peer educators who will go out into the community and work with students, whether in the residence hall or classrooms, around things that are really important to students about staying healthy. Some of that has to do with mindfulness, meditation, yoga, sleep, nutrition, alcohol consumption, safety. I saw that there were a couple questions around safety, and so we do a lot of education around that as well. How do you stay safe? We're in a very safe neighborhood, but there are some things that we need to make sure that students do, which is if you go out together, you come back together. You don't walk alone. I mean, it is a major city, so we want to make sure that all individuals are being wise and mindful of their activities. Our public safety here on campus is exceptional. It's really about care and safety and making sure that we are really mindful and paying attention. Student rides for students is a high priority for our public safety, so a student can pick up and ask for a ride. I know that's getting away from the yoga question or some of the other activities through the Center for Wellbeing. We've also, some of the things that are fun that I think Jeff had alluded to, which is grocery bingo, which was a way to educate around healthy nutrition. And grocery bingo was one of the ways to do that, and how they the winner would get a bag of groceries from either Whole Foods or a co-op nearby. And so that was one of the ways that we were doing that. But we have lots and lots of educational opportunities that talk about mindfulness, meditation, and other ways to stay healthy. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So this next question is for Kim. What type of support are you able to provide to students with dyslexia and anxiety?
Good question, thank you. I'll talk about dyslexia first. So it really does vary by student. When students work with our office, we do, part of that process of getting registered is to provide documentation of your diagnosis. So for dyslexia, we would be looking for an assessment report when the student was tested and diagnosed with dyslexia. We review that report and we look for what the impacts are on the student, and then we decide on accommodations that way. So it's really individual to individual, but in general, for dyslexia, we have accommodations including audiobooks, and then we provide students their books in a digital format, and then we provide a software program called Read and Write, and that it's a text-to-speech program, meaning that the software will read aloud the digital text. So that's one accommodation. If there's an impact on the student taking exams in that they need more time to maybe read over the test questions, to process the test questions, they might qualify for extended time to complete exams. They also might qualify for a reader, and that is somebody who's going to read the test questions out loud to the student so that they're not misinterpreting the question and can answer the question as they've heard it, and maybe not if they misread it. So, and students have some choice in, what would work better. They don't have to have a reader if it's offered, that sort of thing. And then in terms of, so that's extended time on exams. And then there's also technology that students can use on exams. So we have computer stations where they can have technology that will read the test out loud to them. So if they don't want another person reading the test to them, they have the choice of using technology. or maybe it's just the extended time that addresses the need and they don't need the reader. So again, it's that kind of case-by-case situation. For students with anxiety, again, that'll vary depending on how it impacts them, but we know in our work with our current students that anxiety can affect class attendance, it can affect the ability to meet deadlines, it can affect the testing situation. So we have accommodations for exams also for students with anxiety. And I'll clarify that test anxiety is not the sort of situation where we would be providing exam accommodations unless it's part of a broader mental health diagnosis like generalized anxiety disorder. So some students will qualify for extended time in a separate space, meaning they won't sit in the classroom to take the exam with their peers. They'll come to our office and take it in a room where there's a lot fewer people in the space. And then sometimes, depending on the student needs, it might be a private room where they're the only person in the room. In terms of deadlines and attendance, there's some flexibility that we ask faculty to offer students in regard to both of those things. So it varies professor to professor and class to class whether or not the professor has an attendance policy or not. If they do, we ask them to consider allowing additional absences to account for the impact of the student's disability. Then with deadlines, we ask the professor to consider some flexibility in terms of extending some deadlines if a student has a flare-up of their anxiety. So those are some possibilities.
All right, thanks for your answer. So the next question will be for Jeff. So this person asked, I won't live on campus, and I know a majority of students do. Are there any resources or clubs for those who commute to St. Thomas?
Yes, I mean, so I can't speak on off-campus student life. It's a separate department that helps connect students who live off campus, like onto the campus community. But I would say that clubs, I mean, they're open to everyone who's a student at St. Thomas. So there's always something that you can do with that club. And if you guys want to be a part of it, and you just have to stay up to date to the emails on what they're sending out. Always check timing. Like I said, they're always posting different events that's going on. And so if you want to stay connected, that's a great way to do it.
And go for it. Yep.
I could also add something. In the past, we've had some commuter sections of courses that have been set aside for commuting students. So maybe it was a theology class or a philosophy class. So that gives students an opportunity to connect with other students who are also commuting, and then really getting to know the faculty members and the staff members that are a part of that. That does include our director of off-campus student life, as well as an academic counselor. And they often, they have lunch once in a while all together as well. So that's another really great way to connect that we have provided for our commuting students.
And I can kind of speak personally on my own experience. I lived on campus my first 2 years at St. Thomas, and then my last 2 years at St. Thomas, I was a commuter student commuting from home. So it was interesting. I would say though, I was more involved on campus while I was commuting. So my junior and senior year in college, like I was heavily involved in different student clubs and organizations. I made sure to stay in the campus community, meet new people. So St. Thomas does have the resources. We have the resources, we have the clubs, organizations. So the next step is for you to kind of assess what you're passionate about, and don't be afraid to pursue that. So there are plenty of opportunities to really get involved at St. Thomas. And
once you're on campus, our office does send out an email every single Wednesday to let you know what is going on, at least for Thursday to Sunday. Thursday to Sunday, it's called our weekend events email. I'll kind of give you an idea of what's going on campus. If you're also participating in a club, you'll also get an email from me that will outline some of the events that are happening through some of our clubs, also other leadership development opportunities on campus as well.
Awesome. So the next question will be for Madonna. So how do you support students with depression to supplement the medications or therapy that are provided externally?
Okay, that's a great question. Many of our students do come to campus with pre-existing mental health concerns, maybe have their own counselor, their own psychiatrist. There's a couple ways that we support them. If you're from outstate or out of state, we could shift some of your care here through our psychiatrist or our primary care providers and take over that prescription writing. If you want to stay with your own psychologist or counselor, that's a great idea. It's really hard to restart that, but we do have supplemental in terms of, through the health promotion lens, in terms of yoga and mindfulness and meditation is some of the ways. We also have through our counseling services, even though you may not be seeing a counselor on site, we have Let's Talk, which happens Monday through Friday. That you can just do a pop in, a drop in. Sometimes it's just that you need to touch base with somebody for 15 minutes just to say, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm still struggling, and just kind of get a little bit of a boost. We also every day have crisis counselors available. We also have after hours crisis that will start on Monday. So we'll have 24/7 support for students who are really struggling. So there's many ways that we support students. Another way, and I think this doesn't really address it here, but how we as a university support students, that we have a safety net, I would call, that helps support students. If a professor, is noticing, wow, the student hasn't shown up for 3 days in a row, or maybe something's happened in resident's life that is a concern. And so that's all reported through a central way, and reach out to that student saying, hey, your professor said that you haven't been in class, everything okay? Do you need to get hooked up with or connected with a support service? To ways to identify early, is there something that's just a little unsettling here, and need to kind of direct them to, maybe campus ministry, supports that will help them get them through maybe a rough day or a rough week. So lots and lots of support here. Thanks.
Thanks, Madonna. All right, so I'll pose this question that someone wrote to anyone who wants to answer it. How much time per day should a student spend studying in college? Go for it, Tanya.
Well, that's a great question. The general guidelines are for every 1 hour you're in class, you should spend 2 to 3 hours outside of class and studying. So I hope that kind of answers the question, but also that, every class is different. So you might find that you need a little less in one class and a little more in the other, but those are some general guidelines.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with what Tanya said, because college definitely moves a lot faster than high school, so it can be easier to fall behind, and that's something that you don't want to do. So one thing that I did in my first year in college was surround myself with people that motivated me and that I could motivate as well. And we set aside time every week to work on homework together in the library. And held each other accountable. So that was very successful. We all did well that semester. So that's just one strategy, that you can kind of employ. So I guess kind of going back to Tanya, can you comment more on like the Center for Student Achievement and what kind of opportunities or resources that are offered there?
Yeah, so the Center for Student Achievement, we opened our new space in, I believe, 2018. And the space really brings together academic counseling, career development, disability resources, math placement tutors. So those of you, if you we have a math requirement. So if people are needing assistance placing into a math, they work with our math placement tutor. We have a pre-health professions advisor that really helps students who, if you're thinking, hey, I don't know what I want to major in, but I know I want to to go on to medical school or dental, any of those sort of things, we do have an advisor who specializes in that. And we also have undergraduate research opportunities programs. So I hope some of you are considering doing some research while you're here at St. Thomas. It's always amazing to me to see all the great work that our students are doing alongside. It's not just about getting that education, it's also about all those opportunities that you have to engage and get involved in different things. So we have research grants and other things. Our students do a phenomenal job. In fact, we have their inquiry poster session is coming up here in May. That will be, I think it's via Zoom. It's going to be amazing. I'm always excited to see that. So really what we want to do is help students. You can see it's a variety of different offices, but we're here to help students from the time they get here to the time that they graduate and even beyond, right? Because career development also does help with, job searches and with alumni. And so we're really helping students navigate their educational experience. Kim's a part of it as well. Kim, did I miss any departments when I explained that?
Did you say study abroad?
I did not say study abroad. Study abroad too is a part of that, as well as libraries and ITS. So there you have it. It's a great place to work.
Thank you. Jeff, so are St. Thomas games and events on campus all free to students?
Ooh, I believe so. I believe they are. Yeah, go ahead, Father Lawrence.
Yeah, no, they are. Jeff is correct. The only time you would pay going into a game is when our team makes it into the playoffs, and there's a charge for that. But all of the regular season games for every sport are free to the students. And when someone asked earlier, what's there to do on weekends? Oh my, there's all kinds of sporting activities going on throughout the weekend, from Friday night through Sunday, and just a lot of great opportunity to get out and support your fellow Tommies who are competing on the field.
Awesome. Thank you to both of you. Okay, so here's a question, and I'll let whoever wants to answer this can go ahead and answer this. So this person asks, I'm a pretty introverted person, so what services or help do you offer to help students like me feel at home and welcomed?
We don't have residence life staff here, but I know that for students that are living on campus, there's RAs, resident advisors, that are students that are sophomore or junior or seniors, and they're always planning things for their floor. And that's one way to get involved. If you're more introverted, you can always participate in those residence hall experiences. That's one way. And Jeff will probably talk about clubs as another way, as you have been. But that's what occurred to me when I heard that question for folks that live on campus.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about the activities fair. So we have 2 fairs in the fall and spring. So like sometimes going to a meeting or an event, without knowing anyone, it can be a little bit tough. So we do have an activities fair where all the clubs have tables, and you're able to kind of talk to the club leaders first and find out a little bit more about the club in person. I mean, not to just say, there's also welcome days, for that first week of school, when we just have a bunch of events geared for you to kind of get connected and feel welcome to the campus.
If I can jump in, I'd like to add, in addition to the RAs that are in our resident halls, our office sponsors a program we call peer ministry. And I mention that particularly because those groups tend to be smaller, say half a dozen students in the dorm getting together with the peer minister. And so if you're the kind of person who would shy away from a large gathering, I mentioned Tommy Catholic, where there's over 100 students, the peer ministry program is a great way to connect with a smaller group that's more comfortable for you in terms of getting to know others, especially in your dorm?
Yeah, I would say there's tons of different people who are going to be connecting with you personally, who are going to be reaching out to you. Peer ministers are one of them, commuter mentors are one of them, your RAs, there's always someone, tutors, things like that. Yeah.
For sure. And one thing that I definitely want to comment on, and I think this is kind of a great way to kind of wrap things up here, is that during Welcome Week, like right before classes start, a couple days before classes start, we offer something called March Through the Arches. And what March Through the Arches is, as you all probably know, we have these like signature arches right in the middle of campus. And it's a tradition for all first-year students to stand outside of the arches. And then, President Sullivan will give a speech, our student body president will give a speech. And then after all that, all the students will walk through the arches together. And on the other side of the arches are current students, staff, faculty, all clapping, cheering them on, giving them high fives, just as a way to kind of welcome them into the community. So it's a super fun way to kind of get started at St. Thomas, and definitely kind of like a feel-good moment for any type of student. So yeah, awesome. Well, now I'll have Tom share his screen, and we can kind of talk about what other events we have this week. So, as you already know, we just did the Student Life and Support Services webinar. Tomorrow, we will be offering an Ask Me Anything student panel, as well as a panel of current parents, so parents of current students on campus. And then on Friday, we are offering individualized Tommy Talks. So if there's if you have any questions or want to schedule, a 30-minute virtual appointment with any of our admissions counselors, just call the admissions office or email us, and then we can set that up for you. And then on the next slide, what you'll see is a way to contact us. So if you have any questions after this webinar, for admissions or financial aid, the contact info is on the screen for you. So for admissions, as you can see, is admissions@stthomas.edu, and financial aid is financialaid@stthomas.edu. So you can direct your questions there if there are any questions that you have. Also, if we didn't get to your question in this webinar Q&A, don't worry, we'll be compiling a list of all the unanswered questions, and we'll make sure to answer those to you right after. So thank you again so much for taking time to hear about all the great things that St. Thomas has to offer. I do want to thank the panelists again for taking time out their day to do this, and I hope everyone in here has a great rest of your week.